Coming from a small school like Howard University, Jeff wasn't invited to the NFL Combine. But when you run a 40-yard dash in the 4.2s, that'll open up some eyes. It's good to see you. This is Sports Night, and I'm A.Jackson. And this latest incident comes on the same day that the Wizards PR staff made a push for Blosh to be named the NBA's most improved player. Just when you thought the Redskins were done making a splash this offseason, they're at it again. Or are they? And to be only 17 years old, Harper has surprisingly handled the media very well, saying, quote, "All I have to do is do exactly what I'm doing now. Just continue to have fun and smile." This morning at shoot-around, Flip Saunders told me that in order to have a chance against Denver, his team needed to come out like a pack of mad wolves. The Howard University Bison were picked to finish 8 out of 9 teams in the MEAC this season. Brian Jackson here with the New Orleans Hornets' Chris Paul. Oftentimes in the NBA, the outcome is decided by the game within the game. Some of the best basketball in the country right now is being played by 2 of our local teams in the CAA. Who is the real Georgetown? Is it the team that dismantled top-ranked Villanova and Duke? Or is it the squad that fell to South Florida and Old Dominion on their own home court? From Blacksburg, I'm Brian Jackson for Comcast Sportsnet. Now you see, it's no secret that these two teams just flat out don't like each other. And before today's game, the Cavaliers added fuel to that already burning fire. You see, it's common courtesy in the NBA to have the visiting team have access to the home team's weight room. But today, the Cavaliers sent 8 players to the Wizards' weight room, completely taking it over. And it obviously didn't sit well with Caron Butler and company, so you can expect the Wizards to come out with a little bit of added incentive this afternoon.
For more on that story, let's go down to the sideline to Brian Jackson.
Thanks, Bob. Penalties have been an issue for both teams all season long. And earlier this week when I spoke with JMU coach Mickey Matthews, he had a very interesting take on the Duke's penalty issues, saying, quote, "The thing that amazes us is the lack of penalties on the other teams. To say he's hurting us is an understatement. It's like saying the Titanic ran into a small piece of ice." But the Dukes aren't alone in their penalty issues. UMass has been flagged a total of 51 times for a loss of 421 yards, good for 8th in the CAA. Meanwhile, JMU is currently 9th in the conference with 48 penalties for a loss of 475 yards. So it's safe to say that whoever ends up with a lot of these today will see the playoffs' hope sink just like the Titanic did. Bob?
Brian Jackson's on the sideline with Minutemen coach Kevin Morris.
Thanks, Bob. Well, Coach, you all got a couple of opportunities deep there in JMU territory, but were only able to come away with 3 points. What do you all have to do to get back on track offensively?
Well, we've been up and down the field a little bit, but like you mentioned, we didn't score in the red zone. We need to do that in order to win a ball game, so we've got to get over that hump this half.
And I'm CSN Washington's Brian Jackson. I'm here taking your texts, tweets, and emails, so what I need you to do is this. Text in the letters TCD and your thoughts to 68683, and you could see them scrolling right there along the bottom of your screen. Or if you prefer to tweet us at CSN Washington, and we're always taking your questions at csnwashington.com. I'll be back a little later to share some of the best ones, but for now, back to Russ and Julie for today's headlines.
On that story, let's go down to the sideline to Brian Jackson.
Thanks, guys. Today's defensive spotlight will highlight 2 seniors that will be sure to be flying around the ball all game long, starting with Villanova linebacker Terrence Thomas, who today will be making his 40th career start. And he was also named the CAA's Defensive Preseason Player of the Year. And on the other side, we have William & Mary's Michael Stover, who began his career as a walk-on. 4 years later, he's the only returning starter on the Tribe's defensive line, and he's currently 3rd in the CAA in tackles for loss per game. Coach, you had Jonathan Grimes, who was beat up all week. He had bruised ribs, among a lot of other injuries, and all he did was go out there and put 3 touchdowns on the board.
Well, I asked John. John wanted to play this game. I promise you, he'd have been really, really hurting to miss this ball game.
And up 14-7 at the half. What is the message to your guys there in the locker room?
I just told them this is where we expected to be. We come into every football game expecting to win the game. We're up right now, and now we got to finish the game. But I'm really excited with the way our kids are playing, and this atmosphere here tonight is outstanding.
Thanks, Coach.
You're welcome, Brian. Appreciate it.
Clothed in a custom-made Nationals jacket, President Barack Obama was here opening day to throw out the 2010 baseball season's first pitch. But on his way to the mound, the native Chicago Southsider pulled a fast one on the 41,000+ in attendance, pulling out a White Sox hat to show allegiance to his hometown team. Just one game after allowing a season-high 127 points in an effort in which Wizards coach Flip Saunders said was, quote, embarrassing, the Wizards bounced back with their best defensive performance of the season, holding Portland to a season-low 33% from the field, as the Wizards broke a 4-game losing streak with the 83-79 victory. By outscoring the Bearcats by 24 points in the second half, the Hoyas cruised to the 74-47 victory, thus avoiding the dreaded Tuesday game in the Big East tournament that has now been expanded to 5 days. With the Hoyas, I'm Brian Jackson for CSNWashington.com. The leather echo of boxing gloves resonates across culture and religion.
Boxing is a one-on-one sport. It's just like living. When the kids go out in the street, he's by himself. Well, it's the same thing with boxing. When the bell ring, you by yourself.
The discipline and work ethic boxing breeds serves as a cornerstone for tolerance.
We're reaching out, hopefully, to not only impact the lives of the people in our community, also that the kids can get an education and see how much alike we all are.
Nice. Do it again.
The first annual Belfast Beltway Boxing Classic is uniting kids from Northern Ireland and Washington, D.C. for an exhibition bout.
I think it's the first time most of them actually left the Belfast area, and they're so excited. I think this is better than Christmas for them, actually.
Far better than Christmas for us.
They'll be able to share camaraderie, see other people from other countries. It's just a wonderful thing for the sport.
The kids from Northern Ireland, many of whom have never left their own neighborhoods, are getting a chance to learn and grow, both inside and outside of the ring.
Where we come from, Northern Ireland, a lot of conflict over the troubles of Catholic and Protestant. So we've actually got kids from both communities here, Catholic and Protestant. So it's actually, they're building a friendship outside boxing now too. So it's actually a lot more than just boxing.
Everyone is here for the main event, and the hand-picked group from D.C. is brimming with confidence.
All my guys are quite a few notches above them all.
And if the ferocity in which the matches were decided mirrors what happens in the ring, fight night will be well worth the 3,000-mile plus trip. Before today's game, Ed Tapscott wrote the words redemption on the chalkboard. You see, back on Christmas night, the Wizards blew a late fourth quarter lead against the Cavs only to lose in the end. And the same thing almost happened this afternoon. Up 16 in the fourth quarter, the Cavs made a furious comeback and had the Wizards feeling a taste of deja vu.
Guys had a recent memory of Christmas Day when we were right there and didn't quite close the deal. I know they wanted to close the deal.
The game was tied when Antoine Jamison came up with a huge jump shot, but the Wizards still needed a stop against one of the best closers in basketball. With 2.3 seconds left, LeBron James gets called for a travel, what he calls a crab dribble, something he's done since high school.
I mean, it's a play that you don't see in this league much, but myself, it's one of those plays where you have your trademark play, and that's one of my plays. It kind of looks like a travel because it's slow, and it's kind of like high step, but it's a 1-2, just as fluent as any other 1-2 in this league.
Yeah, I definitely knew he traveled, but I didn't think they wasn't call it. Because 2 years ago, looking at hindsight, it was the same thing that happened in the playoffs, and we get that call. Who knows what would have happened with everybody healthy, but it was one of them situations in which a great player made a move, good officiation, and they called the call, and I was just like, oh man, there's a guy.
In talking with Antoine Jamison after the game, he said that this was easily the Wizards' biggest win of the season. We'll find out if they can build upon this win when Dwight Howard and the Magic come into town on Tuesday. With the Wizards, Brian Jackson, Comcast Sportsnet.